What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where the football season is almost over. We have approached really the last full week of the HBCU football season. Division II has already ended its playoff season over there, and now for FCS, it's about to come to an end outside of a couple of games on Thanksgiving week. I got Arielle Kilgore in the building. Arielle, how you doing today?
I'm a little bit in mourning. Lost one of our good teams, and now they're not going to the Celebration Bowl, and it sucks. But now I feel like we really have that was like playoffs. This is like MEAC Championship. I feel like we have this week. I'm so excited to see these two teams, and I just knew Chennis wasn't finna blow out Central, but I had hope that maybe I would be wrong. So I'm a little sad, but I think the best team is moving on, and we'll definitely see when we get into bowl season in December what everything is finna look like.
For sure. So let's go on and get into it, because that South Carolina State, North Carolina Central game was fire. I thought it was going to be a blowout at first, but you can't count out Trey Oliver and North Carolina Central. South Carolina State ultimately pulled out the victory, and they're in the driver's seat to possibly make their second straight MEAC championship. That was your game of the week, Arielle. How'd you feel about it?
It's bittersweet because this is what we've been waiting for, and this was the game that I've been most excited about. I love when you have these top three teams: Delaware State, South Carolina State, and North Carolina Central University, all playing together. And this year, unfortunately, Central just going down, but having an amazing season. South Carolina State topping Central 34-27, and a last minute touchdown, 30-yard touchdown, rushing touchdown by Joshua Shaw. But it started off in the first quarter 17-3. Who would have thought that North Carolina Central would have allowed 17 points from South Carolina State? But then Trey Oliver said, let me turn my cap around real quick and let me get down to business. And South Carolina State went scoreless going to the second half. Now, after that, I can't tell you what happened because it was a shootout all the way through. Like I said, Joshua Shaw, which amazed me, had a 30-yard rushing break. And if you were to see that play, Randall, how he moved past those four linemen, because I thought he was stuck. I thought he was finna get pushed behind the backfield. That man did his little ran all the way in. I was just like, oh my gosh. South Carolina did not come to play, but then you had to think about all the dimes that Walker Harris was throwing, especially the one that put them up 20-27 that he had against South Carolina State. And I was just like, ugh, dang. Maybe they are gonna win. It was giving me hope. And what I think Central was trying to do, and a lot of NFL teams do this, they allowed Shaw to break and have that touchdown, because after that touchdown, there was a minute and 51 left remaining. But for some odd reason, Central could not move the ball. Walker Harris was trapped, and it ended in them losing, defeating the season. Now they're 2-2 in the conference, which completely X's them out of the Celebration Bowl. And now you have two teams that are tied 4-0 in the conference between Delaware State and South Carolina State, who will battle out to see who will be going to that Celebration Bowl. Now, what is crazy to me, I think Walker Harris played a really, really good game. 13 out of 31, one touchdown, barely any turnovers. Turnovers were down, but not necessarily interceptions on his part. But when you look at Atkins the fourth, I think this was probably one of his best performances, one of performance of the year. 24 out of 36, three touchdowns, one interception, but that interception did not seem to phase South Carolina State and winning this game. So I would say in the fourth quarter, that's where you saw Atkins really show up, become the QB that we've been wanting him to build up to be in the season. And I believe that arm strength and everything that he did in that game ultimately set him off in the win. And also, this was a really, really high scoring game, but also a really high scoring total yard games. When you look at South Carolina State, in total, they had over 454 yards. Central just 304. But what kind of made me think that Central leaned more heavy on their passing game, which Walker Harris is very strong for. And we did say that they needed an air raid attack in order to beat South Carolina State. But having only 88 rushing yards in this game against South Carolina State, and you know they play dirty, and you know that backfield is one of the strongest things that they have on that team, I really wish they would have relied more on using their running backs, especially in those fourth down situations, because some of those conversions could have happened. But I understand Trey Oliver wanted to keep it safe, not having those turnovers, even though ultimately he ended up losing the game. There were just little things that I can't really say disappointed me in Central because it was a great game overall. But I can see where they were just overpowered by South Carolina State and what they had to bring to the field. And surprisingly, KZ Adams, not the running back of the year in this game. It was Joshua Shaw, one of the leading rushers. Overall, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they do next week. And I think this is the key for South Carolina State in beating Delaware State. But we're just going to have to see because you can have all the power you want. I think there's something in Delaware State that wants to knock Chennis off his second year straight going to the Celebration Bowl.
I think that's very true. And for me, when I turned on the game just felt big. It's so hard to quantify because I know a lot of people don't look at media the way we do, especially when you're in the profession. And sometimes I'll talk to my dad and we watch the Georgia Texas game, and we have YouTube TV and ESPN is back on YouTube TV. Finally, it actually happened during the game on Friday. I was watching on Hulu. Then they gave notification, hey, ESPN's back on YouTube TV. So I said, bye Hulu, and I turned on YouTube TV and I started watching on there. I was so serious. I actually did. It was like in the third quarter. I'm like, well, commercial break, boom, we're on YouTube TV with it. So we were watching the Georgia Texas game, and with my dad, and I'm like, hey, can you tell that this is different? Because we're watching the 4K stream, then we went to the Lakers Bucks game. And my dad said, I can't tell. You're into that media thing, not me. But it's this Georgia Texas game in 4K looks so clear. It's so crispy. That's stuff I'm into. So when I looked at this South Carolina State, North Carolina Central game, it wasn't the same as far as 4K or the angling or different things like that, but it was the energy. It just felt big. It felt important. It felt like this was a true battle of the Titans, because oftentimes you'll see a team and they'll go up against a team that's not in their league and not on their level. But then you'll see two Titans, two of the best teams in the league, face off against each other. And it's this is it. This is the game. And when they kicked the field goals, it was 3-3. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a tight game. But that sequence of events end in the first quarter, that Atkins touchdown, that then leads to the onside kick, which was the first recovered onside kick for South Carolina State this year. Then after the onside kick, a 51-yard touchdown pass by Atkins, and they go up 17-3. I'm like, this game is different. This feels different from last year. I don't know how they were going to top last year, but they did, because this game just felt exciting. It's just the energy, the stakes, all of it was amazing. And the coaching was what really was big for me, because Chennis took risk that we don't normally see him take. The onside kick, going for it on fourth down. These are things that, typically Chennis like to be a little bit conservative with his play calling sometimes, him and his coaching staff, but he was going for it on Friday. And Trey Oliver, he made adjustments. You saw him key in more on Atkins. Atkins threw some really bad passes after he was on that running in that first quarter, threw in an interception that turned into a pick six. They were putting that pressure on him, and Atkins sort of went back a little bit. He sort of wasn't in that same pocket that he was to start the game. Now, he eventually sort of came back and was making big plays and big throws in that fourth quarter. But just the chess match, it literally was a chess match between Chennis and his coaching staff and Trey Oliver and his coaching staff. And if you looked at that game, you saw the changes, you saw the story of the game. And that's sports at its height to me. That's why I love this. I love this game because of what we saw on Friday. But it was a play that I honestly think, one play that could have shifted the whole entire game to me. And I was just raving about it. I wrote about it on Clutch Points. It was crazy. When South Carolina State is the fourth quarter, they're in the red zone. So they don't get third and goal or whatever. They don't get it. They don't get a touchdown. So in my mind, you kick the field goal, right? Because it's the game is close. Kick the field goal. Just go up by 3. Do your thing. But no, Chennis went for it. And they didn't get it. And I'm sitting back. I'm like, now Chennis What you doing? Because this ain't it. I don't like. I picked you to win this game. Why you going for it when you literally this is not like this is midfield and it's like a 4th and 2. No, like you are in field goal range. This is a give. This is a free throw shot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you doing? But he goes for it. They don't get it. But then the defense holds North Carolina Central and Walker Harris. They then go down and get a game-winning touchdown, essentially, because North Carolina Central gets the ball back, and they hold them from getting the conversions enough to ultimately get in the range to score. He took risk, Arielle. He took risk, and all power to Chennis Berry, because what we saw was HBCU coaching at its best. What we saw was games that matter. This is a regular season game, but essentially this is like the playoffs. So it was just amazing to me. And I just, as a sports fan, Arielle, I just appreciated it. I honestly really did. Like, thank you, Chennis Berry. Thank you, Trey Oliver. Thank you, everybody. Atkins, Walker Harris, Chris Mosley came back. It made my Friday night amazing.
And you know, it's crazy because we were talking about if he was even going to be able to play, and even him putting over 100 yards in that game running for them, not even amounting enough. But let's think about all the risky moves that Chinsbury did have to take. If we talk about 2 years ago, before he even got there, we talk about Buddy Pugh's last years, when Central made it to the Celebration Bowl in the first year with Deion Sanders in Jackson State, and they beat South Carolina State plus 40 points. And South Carolina State didn't have a defense. They weren't moving the ball they needed. Their quarterback was about to leave, one of the best quarterbacks that we had seen. And then you get Chennis Berry, who turns it around. And last year, you beat Central in a thriller, lose in the Celebration Bowl. But in that game that you beat them for, we didn't see them going on 4th downs. We didn't see those picks. We didn't see them running the ball a lot. They were still playing very scared and very timid against Central, just hoping when the time ran out, and that's what happened that they did. Central just didn't have a chance to move the ball. And in this instance, they actually didn't give Central the chance to move the ball. They held them on their 4th downs. They made them do turnovers. They boxed in Walker Harris, who is better than what he was last year as a more developed quarterback going into his junior year. So you're seeing this, and I'm glad that Chennis Berry took the risk. I'm glad that he's not timid anymore when you play against Central. But for Central to have this clean of a game, no forced scoring on either side. Not really much of a pass rush when it came to South Carolina State and trying to move Watkins out the pocket. That's what I really miss. Not saying that they had to do that, but this just isn't. Central has to find different ways to beat teams that are evolving. Delaware State has evolved. South Carolina State has evolved. Morgan State, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is evolving. So you have to find other ways and other methods of thinking of how you're going to beat these teams, because if South Carolina State can do this, even though it wasn't a large win, but they can move on 4th downs, they can hold you when it comes to trying to push you towards the envelope, get in that red zone. That's something that you should be worried about next year, because you're coming back with a majority of your pieces. Most of these MEAC teams, they're going to scout a little bit for more. As we know, Delaware State is losing their quarterback next year unless he decides to play as a graduate and he continues his education. A lot of these teams are going to have to find new pieces. And Trey Oliver is in one of those lucky years where he doesn't have to move or find people as much. But that means you have more fine tuning, because Chennis Berry is probably going to come back next year. He's one of the big dudes that you got to deal with, that you have to try to beat again. This man is about to have another Cinderella season that we were not expecting and neither of us predicted. But I'm happy and I agree with you in the risk that he took and the way that he played. And I think this is just something with being beat twice in a row now. It just feels so good saying that about Central. It's bittersweet. But if we couldn't win, they can't win either. Nobody can have a trophy this year. Nobody can win. But if he really wants to beat Chennis Berry, I think what needs to happen in this offseason, I think Walker Harris has been worked on really great enough. I think it's time to find weapons outside of Chris Mosley, outside of their running backs. Get maybe a really good tight end, add a couple more safeties. this is just going to have to be something that you prepare specifically for South Carolina State. I think there was a lot of missed calls and there was a lot of coaching errors when it came to Delaware State, and maybe some underthinking, thinking that DeSean Jackson is new, how good Delaware State was really going to be. And those are things that you can bring back. But playing a team that has beat you twice and is vying for your spot that you should have had last year, and even the year before that, after you tied with Howard, it's getting a little sloppy on Central's part. And hopefully they learn going into next year. They want to go back. If they keep wanting to be champions, they got to find a way to get out and beat this South Carolina State team that just knows how to grind their way into championships.
Huh, man, Chennis Berry. I'll just tell you, it's crazy, man. That man good at coaching. Because I'm still just trying to figure out how's you and your coaching staff like this good? It really is just crazy to me. Just taking the risk and developing the players, and I think that we saw just a really good game on Friday. But my game of the week was Bethune-Cookman versus Jackson State. And it was a very interesting game because it was worth watching and it was worth being the game of the week. I think HBCU Go, first and foremost, did an amazing job on the broadcast. I want to start by saying this, first and foremost, to the folks that watched the YouTube video on last week and the ones that are probably going to watch this week, because I am going to put Jackson State in the headline again on YouTube because they're going to watch it. I do not hate Jackson State. Arielle don't hate Jackson State. I actually really like Jackson State. I think that they are poised to be the dynasty of the 2010s. I said that a couple weeks ago. Fact check me. Go look at the YouTube channel. Go look at the podcast feed. I literally titled the episode, Jackson State is the dynasty of the 2010s. I do not hate Jackson State. And people on the East Coast do not hate Jackson State. We live in Georgia. Both of us live in Georgia. Like, I went to Fort Valley. Arielle went to North Carolina A&T, but at the same time, we're based in Georgia. There is no Jackson State hate in Georgia. There's a lot of Jackson State alumni that live in Georgia, especially in Atlanta. So I want to just say that, number one. And number two, I don't hate the SWAC network. I don't wish anything bad on the SWAC network. They were saying that too, Arielle. Like, oh, I like the SWAC network. Don't be jealous. What am I jealous for? We got the SIC network. Like, we all in the same boat.
Every week, you chose to pick the SWAC. How can you hate something that you cover? Well, doesn't make any sense.
And I was just and I want to just say that at the top. All I was saying, and I'm keeping this in, all I was saying was that why am I fast forwarding through this Texas Southern Alabama State game and it's skipping me forward 2 minutes? That's constructive criticism because a lot of people can't watch the game live. And I couldn't because I went to the Fountain City Classic and I wanted to be on top of it and I had to cover it for Clutch Points too. So I'm like, you're skipping forward 2 minutes. The angles aren't all that great, but that Prairie View versus Texas Southern game at the start of the year, it was amazing. The ambient noise, the angles. So I want just to clear that up for the folks that might come from the last video or the folks that are going to come when they see Jackson State. I do not hate Jackson State. I have Jackson State at this current moment winning the Celebration Bowl, and we're dubbing them at least I'm dubbing them the dynasty of the 2010s. Okay?
Why are they winning the Celebration? No, I can't go that far.
I'm just saying, as of right now, Jackson State to me, as of we're recording this on a Tuesday evening, November 18th. As of right now, Jackson State's winning the Celebration Bowl.
Jackson State isn't winning. It doesn't matter if Delaware State is going. They're definitely not winning. If South Carolina State goes, I'll give them a close chance. But Chennis Berry is not losing to them twice. I'm not allowing that. No, bro. It's MEAC. The MEAC is definitely taking that Celebration Bowl trophy home. I can't believe you just said that. That is crazy. But here's the thing.
Okay, so at least they know it's not me.
I'm not saying it's me either. It's no hate, but they're not winning.
No, yeah, it's no hate. This is just sports opinions, but at least they know my opinion. Because I just feel like for me, looking at this game, Jackson State was the better team when it comes to Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman they are such an improved team. And like I said last week, like a lot of us counted Raymond Woody out, even if we weren't on Ed Reed's side, because we thought that Ed Reed would sort of be that heir apparent in the SWAC to Deion Sanders and get a lot of recruits. Ed Reed, super duper intelligent. My brother and I always, Arielle, I think I might have told you this or not, but Ed Reed, I don't know if you've seen this clip, but Ed Reed was on this panel with Bill Belichick. And Ed Reed, it was this, I guess, this story that Ed Reed confirmed on this panel that was on NFL Network, I think the top players or whatever, that he played the wrong coverage for weeks just so he could pick off Peyton Manning. And Bill Belichick, who normally does not have emotions, he was just enamored. He was just in awe. like he was just like amazed, like, wow, you played the wrong coverage for weeks just because Peyton Manning was watching you. And my brother he thinks that's the most absurd thing, because it's like you're playing the wrong coverage just to get one interception. But I think that shows Ed Reed's mind. So I'm like, that type of football IQ leading in HBCU, leading Bethune-Cookman, which is not new to success. They had been successful in the early 2010s with Brian Jenkins. And then with Terry Sims, they had some success as well until they started to plateau a bit. So Raymond Woody comes in, and we're all like, you ain't Ed Reed. We not on Ed Reed's side how he handled that situation, but you ain't Ed Reed. So what's up? And we saw him lose, but then now it's starting to work for him. It's starting to click for him. And my thing is that watching the games and watching this team, I was wrong. Like, Raymond Woody is not on the hot seat. Raymond Woody is building something that, spoiler alert for the game picks, I think will fully pay off on this weekend in the Florida Classic. I think that he is building something amazing, but the problem is, even outside of the suspension, and this is, again, me saying I don't dislike Jackson State, they were the better team. That 82-yard pick six was crazy at the end of the game. That was wild. Like, I literally was like, yo, that's crazy. That fumble that Bethune-Cookman had when they had that scoring drive, they were moving it down the field, and Jackson State gets that fumble. Then a couple plays later, they go and score. They say this is a game of interest, Arielle, but sports is a game of moments. And there are certain moments that happen that can shift the trajectory. The butterfly effect, when people talk about it all the time. If this thing didn't happen, this happened. Like, literally, if Bethune-Cookman doesn't fumble that ball, I think they at least get a field goal. But they fumbled, Jackson State recovers, then ultimately they go in and get that touchdown, and Bethune-Cookman's offense looked moribund. And the reason why is because Jackson State can score. Jackson State got playmakers on offense, defense, and special teams. Bethune-Cookman has playmakers on offense, but it just simply wasn't working. Cam Ransom probably had his worst game in an FCS game of the whole entire season, and that's okay. You want to know why it's okay? Because you're playing Jackson State, who I don't hate, that is a great defense. They're a great all-around team, and they were just better. Bethune-Cookman had a chance. That 27-13 score isn't indicative of the whole entire game. And there were points in time where Jared Lockhart, who I thought should be the starting quarterback as Jacoby and Morgan is injured, Jared Lockhart, he had some pretty good moments, but he wasn't as on it as I wanted him to be. And once again, we saw Jackson State, they were running that ball incessantly. 3 players get over 100 yards rushing. Bethune-Cookman's defense, it just was non-existent. They were out there running against ghosts, essentially. It was like 300 yards rushing. Like what is going on? So, like, for me, Bethune-Cookman has something great. They got to fix that defense. But Jackson State is just Jackson State. And Arielle, we don't hate Jackson State, because I know you don't think they're going to win the Celebration Bowl, but I want to make that clear. We don't hate Jackson State, and I, Randall Barnes, that went to Fort Valley, don't hate Jackson State. I actually really like Jackson State, okay? So leave me alone.
Y'all have traumatized my co-host. I obviously, even when I say something, I'm not getting as much hate. Y'all have obviously traumatized my co-host. Listen, all I have to say in this game, none of us are saying that Jackson State isn't a good team, but I think criticism is healthy. And I will say that even though they have come and won these games and they are 8-2, I am still not happy with their performance. I think in some of these, I think the way that Bethune-Cookman has played and how they have ramped up in the season, even though it was a 15-point loss. There were moments in this game where I didn't think Jackson State would really recover. If you want to talk about it, they didn't really start coming away until the third quarter. You go into halftime only 4 points ahead, and you're Jackson State. Jackson, there should have been so much more momentum in that first quarter. Because even 2 years ago, even last year, they were having divisions of like 10 to 20 points. Now they're going into halftime either under or just barely over. And then they have to pull out. And I know we're used to Jackson State in the Deion Sanders years coming from behind, especially that first year as you're getting acclimated into new players and bringing in what are now star players. And congratulations to Shador, even though he lost in his first game. It was great to really see him finally out there being the quarterback that we love. But ever since then, they're not playing from behind anymore, but I think they played a little bit to Bethune-Cookman's speed, even with this win. And even though they're doing it, and people will probably say it's impressive that they're doing this with a backup quarterback and that they had these turnovers and that they had these breakout moments. And like you said, sports is all about the moments, and moments are great, but moments aren't what's going to define you as a team. What defines you as a team is, can you get out of there and win, do it consistently and do it great, and maybe even do it better each time. And I have seen some inconsistent characteristics of winning when it comes to Jackson State. They are on paper a great team. But if you were to look at them, this is not the Jackson State that has all the physicality, that has the mentality to win, and that has been doing it at a caliber that's super high. That's what I would say, even though they are definitely Celebration Bowl contenders. I don't know if I were to put them against the code that they cried against Central, if I would put them against Chennis again, especially if he's getting his leg back from last year, or if I would even put them on the caliber with DeSean Jackson, who is full of surprises and brings out surprises every game and figures out how to beat teams that we didn't think were going to beat before. And if DeSean Jackson comes and definitely beats South Carolina State in the fashion that I think he's going to beat them in, there is absolutely no way that I believe that Jackson State is going to beat DeSean Jackson in that Celebration Bowl. I can't say that with confidence. I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I'm not saying they don't have skill, but they have shown me too much sloppiness and inconsistency that they're just barely pulling out despite the score that we see. So this next game that they play has to be their defining moment, because I can't tell you if Delaware State goes and they beat down South Carolina State. Not saying that they will, but if they do, Jackson State is in trouble. You may beat down Chennis, but I don't think you being DeSean Jackson. I don't think he's holding that on his shoulders. That's just personally me. And it's no hate. It's just healthy criticism. That's all it is.
I agree with you. I know we're not on the DeSean Jackson point, but I agree it's just healthy criticism. However, the YouTube comments are going to be very interesting when I put Jackson State in this title. And I'll say one thing about Jackson State for real, their fan base is like really tough, because I'm telling you, if you look at the YouTube numbers, because we're several places, okay? You look at the YouTube numbers, when we talk about Jackson State and it's like the lead title, people come and they watch it, and like they'll even like watch some of the other stuff we're talking about. So it's really funny. So I think it's going to be really interesting what Jackson State has to say about what we have to say. But I just think that Bethune-Cookman, I want to see what Raymond Woody does next year. I'm telling you, I think that Raymond Woody has something cooking, and especially that offense. He has something cooking, and I think that I think it's working. I honestly think it's working. I'm interested to see what he does on this weekend, which we'll talk about later in our game picks. But interestingly enough, Arielle, your game of the week is Jackson State versus Alcorn. We basically switched, conferences. I'm doing the MEAC and Arielle's doing the SWAC. And Arielle, so, the Jackson State fans may or may not, they might decide we ain't gonna watch this today. So they might not, but they might be watching, and they want to see what you got to say about Alcorn State versus Jackson State. They're rival. So what you got to say?
And I know people will look at this and be like, you're choosing a 5-6 team that's going against an 8-2 team. Like they're already Celebration Bowl bound. You're correct. But for some odd reason, somehow the SWAC underdogs are really taking in that definition and putting the work in on Jackson State. Just got to think about, you got to think about that Grambling game. You got to think about this last game that they just played against Bethune-Cookman. There have been a lot of teams, even Mississippi Valley State. There have been a lot of teams that have been pulling Jackson State's car and making them really grind out for these wins, except for Grambling. So I think, even though to me this should be a win, and for AI, my pick is Jackson State. This should be a win for Jackson State. I don't think Alcorn State is letting them go without a fight. Alcorn State has been on a winning streak, winning their last 4 games, especially in the game that Jackson State lost against Grambling, going 27-16. And I think that's a proven point that if they can beat Grambling, the team that beat one of the top teams in the SWAC, I think this could be a game that they potentially want to watch. Not saying that this is career shaking, but this is a team that's going against competition that Jackson State could not prove to be beaten. But I will say Jackson State has been putting up some heavy numbers, and they're only losing in one of their 2 games. They're only losing game against Grambling and Southern Miss. Before that, I want to say in that Southern Miss game, they had under 200 passing yards and under 200 rushing yards combined. And the rest of those games, in 4 of those wins of the 8 that they've had, they have put over 200 passing and 200 rushing yards, especially in their early games. So like you said, this is a team that knows how to score, and they're either going to do it on the ground or they're going to do it in the air. They may do it with their feet. Jackson State loves a good dual threat quarterback, and I'm not mad at them. Play on your strengths, but I do not want them to sleep on Alcorn State and think this is going to be an easy team, because it's not. Even though we may not see Jacoby and Morgan, I really think just save them, which I'm so happy that Alabama State did the same thing when they was playing Mississippi Valley State. They finally listened, or I hope they listened to our podcast when we say, please do not play Andrew Body. But at all costs, backup quarterbacks, keep it simple, keep it clean, razzle dazzle a little bit, maybe towards the end of the game. I'm not going to sit here and say that Tolbert is a better QB than all Jackson State quarterbacks combined. I think even their 2 backup quarterbacks can run circles around Tolbert. But I'm not going to sit here and say this is going to be an easy game. They've put up the stats. They're looking good. But like I said, they show some inconsistencies where they're always having to pull out a win and try to win the fight. That shouldn't be the case with Alcorn State. They should be running them over. But I'm not going to let that slide. This may, I want to say this would probably be a double-digit win. I'm hoping it's a double-digit win. But if not, that's what I'm saying. Jackson State may look a little scary, but they're my win for this week. It should be a win against Alcorn State. Even though every time we pick Alcorn State has won.
Very true. But I'm not picking Alcorn State.
No, we're not.
We're not picking Alcorn State because we love Jackson State.
We love Jackson State.
Yeah, we're going to pick Jackson State, and they're going to win by a lot. I'm not even joking, because I mean that. I think that Alcorn has resuscitated this season, and I think that it's amazing. And that Southern game, that was a game we all were really looking at, because Fred McNair leads Southern, who has a lot of talented players, against Alcorn, but it just hasn't clicked for Southern, even with Fred McNair at the helm, even after they fired Terrence Graves in that weird way they fired them. Alcorn is not necessarily a team that I would count out, but against the best team in the SWAC and arguably the best team in HBCU football, I don't think that Alcorn is going to beat them. And then it's a rivalry game. And let me tell you what I know about rivalries, okay? I'm wearing this Fort Valley shirt. I will be brief. I got this from the Found City Classic, along with my hamstring like exploding, and me wearing these glasses, the glasses that you might have seen me wear 2 weeks ago, that I only wore again on Sunday after like a week, because I was afraid I'd get a headache again. We got beat 48-3. We literally left. We don't normally leave during the football game, but we left. We left, and they scored another touchdown. For Albany State beat down Fort Valley, and they won the SIC championship. So I know about rivalries, and I understand that even though you're cruising, you're winning, you making it happen. Like you probably in the SWAC championship win this game and you're officially in, and Alabama State is not. But when you see your rival on your schedule, and I get, because from what I understand, I am not SWAC. I don't have SWAC hours, as they say. But I understand that they say that for real. You don't have SWAC hours. I am very much so SIAC. Okay. But I understand that when Jackson State, you got Alcorn, that is that in-state rival, but it's different when it comes to Southern. That Southern Jackson State rivalry is pretty historic, and it's like real deal rivalry, like bad blood, like talking trash, almost like how, from what I understand, from what I've heard, it is like Albany State and Fort Valley. The alumni, they get the chirping at the game. That's what I've heard. So I understand that Alcorn, it's like it's like, you push around. It's like little brother. I understand that. I get it. But it's still a rival. And I think Jack State gonna be like, listen, we're gonna get through y'all and we're gonna make it, to the SWAC championship, and we're playing Prairie View, and then we're going back to Atlanta. And a part of me wonders, and I have to go look, because full transparency, I've not looked yet, is Jacoby and Morgan playing? Because I know the SWAC coach's call was on Monday. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I have to go and watch it and cover that. But I don't know if TC Taylor said if he was going to play or not. What I would do, personally, me, and I know what you're thinking too, I wouldn't play him, because I don't think they need Jacoby and Morgan. I think that Jared Lockhart is going to be perfectly fine. And I think that run game, you had three players that eclipsed over the century mark against Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman was a bad defense, the worst defense in the whole entire conference. But at the same time, that is how good your running back room is. So I think they have so much diversity in that running back room and so much talent in that running back room. I don't think you need to have Jared Lockhart throw a bunch of passes again. Like, just have him, throw the passes where you need to. The long plays and situations when you think that maybe it's a touchdown or like a blown coverage. I mean, throw it in. But I think that they can literally dominate time of possession. They can bleed that clock out and they can win. So I'm picking Jackson State, and I hope that was a great explanation.
No, it was a great explanation, but I just think the run game will only work with Alcorn State. I don't think in this instance, if we were to put them, if in this case with Jackson State leaning on to a wonderful, amazing, and I wish the NFL was like this, wonderful, amazing backup of a QB that he is, and you're only doing running plays, that will only work with Alcorn State. I would say, and we've seen it when they played Grambling, I want to say with Prairie View, even Bethune-Cookman in this past loss, they can see that. So hopefully this works and maybe Alcorn State doesn't catch on. But to me, I do agree that's the best plan that they do have. And yes, they shouldn't be playing Jacoby and Morgan because it's Alcorn State. You should be winning this game automatically and letting him be able to breathe as much as possible until you need him.
All right. So my game of the week is South Carolina State versus Delaware State. It is the de facto MEAC championship. And we understand that the MEAC doesn't have a championship game officially. It's only 6 teams, but even when North Carolina A&T, Hampton, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman were in the conference, there was not a set MEAC championship game. It's whoever is at the top of the conference and won the key games. Ultimately, they go on to become the MEAC champion. And then in the Celebration Bowl era, they make the Celebration Bowl. But when you have 2 teams that both are undefeated in their conference, and they literally both have looked like 2 of the best teams in HBC football, and they happen to be playing at the end of the season, that is what I call a championship game, and it's being hosted in Dover. Delaware State, DeSean Jackson, Chennis Berry, South Carolina State. And for me, this is more of a battle for the future than it is the battle on the field. Because I think that what we've moved into is a future-setting moment. You have Chennis Berry, who just came into this conference 2 years ago after he was at Benedict. He has not lost a conference game in successive seasons. The last conference game he lost was in 2021. 2022, he sweeps the SIAC. In 2023, he sweeps the SIAC, makes the NCAA Division II playoffs twice, literally the top seed in Super Region 2 twice, then goes to South Carolina State, succeeds legendary head coach Buddy Pugh, and then he goes and runs the gambit in the MEAC. He loses in the Celebration Bowl, but then you're like, okay, what is Chennis and South Carolina State going to do? They then go and they beat every single team in the MEAC except for Delaware State, who they play on this weekend. So Chennis Berry, he's becoming the guy. He's becoming the coach synonymous with the MEAC the same way that Buddy Pugh was. That's why he was the perfect successor and the obvious heir apparent to Buddy Pugh. Then you look at DeSean Jackson, Delaware State. We're thinking it's this celebrity coming in. He's going to get some good recruits, but it's not going to be his year right now. They're going to win some games. They're going to be pretty good, but ultimately his team is going to come on next year. That didn't happen because you have a team that's won only 2 games in 2 years. Now they're literally a game away from winning the MEAC Championship and going to the Celebration Bowl, which DeSean Jackson promised in his introductory press conference in January. That's what he was trying to do this year. And they do it on the run game. Marquise Gillis, Caden Bennett as your quarterback with great running ability. You have James Jones that's also in that running back room. They're one of the top FCS rushing teams. But here's the thing with South Carolina State. South Carolina State is the top rushing defense in the MEAC. And they held North Carolina Central to 88 yards rushing. And listen, you got Chris Mosley. Chris Mosley is just amazing. Chris Mosley did his thing. But we saw South Carolina State be rough, tough, and physical. They were getting out the Walker Harris, but they also stopped that run game. And South Carolina State, I believe that they have the physicality, they have the players, they have the defensive line to really be the one team outside of Morgan State that is going to be able to disrupt Delaware State's run game. Marquise Gillis is a big play back. You have James Jones as a big play back as well. They're guys to look for. But we already know that Caden Bennett is not that prolific passer. We know at Sacramento State that he was good. He did his thing. And he was a winner. But in this system, what we've seen is a quarterback that uses his legs in the run game. Now, he has Ryan Pelham from Oregon. You have a couple of other guys, but we know and we see that this is a running team. And the only goal really for South Carolina State, unless Delaware State pulls out a bag of tricks, is to stop the run game. I think South Carolina State does it because you did it in North Carolina Central, who also is a great running team and has a prolific running back. I think they do it again against Delaware State, and ultimately South Carolina State beats Delaware State, and they go to the Celebration Bowl.
So your pick is South Carolina State. My pick is Delaware State. I think Delaware State could do it. I think I think it's possible. Just because you're looking at 2 of the best backfields that we have in the MEAC. I would say Atkins and Bennett are a little bit on the same caliber. It's not like teetering who their quarterbacks are. It really just is. It's really between the backfield of KZ Adams and Marquise Gillis and who is going to be on the field. And it's also going to come down to if Delaware State's defense can have enough oomph and can pull off some holds on the ground against South Carolina State. Because I do not disagree with you. That defense and holding North Carolina Central to only 88 yards rushing was a game changer. You can't do that with Delaware State when that's their only sign, or most of the time their sign of attack. You just take away their whole scoring advantage. And if they do that, that's Delaware State's downfall. But I don't believe it's going to be that easy. And I don't think DeSean Jackson is going to let down on his promise. I think South Carolina State got lucky beating Central. I think they played a really good game. They outplayed them. They did. But I don't know if they have enough to do it against Delaware State, because essentially Delaware State is South Carolina State of last year, just with no defense. So it's possible that I could see DeSean Jackson doing the same thing, maybe a 34-27, only winning by a touchdown a last-minute touchdown, and Delaware State has done that 4 times this season. So if they can do it again and make it a 5th time, that's why I'm saying they can vie for the best team in HBCU sports this year. So my pick, I'm gonna have to go with Delaware State, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just have a feeling South Carolina State may not be going back.
All right. I think that's going to be incredibly interesting. And that game is going to be going down on Saturday, 1 p.m. on ESPN Plus. But I think that they're going to move that game up somehow. I think they should. We don't know. We just talk about sports. We don't call the shots. If I call the shots, it's gonna be on ABC.
ABC prime time. And to me, this is a prime time game. I don't know why we playing so early, so we could just sit and sulk and whoever wins or whoever loses. This kind of, it gives 4 p.m. game. Maybe at the latest 6, but we'll take 1 o'clock.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why it's at 1 p.m. because the SEC got to play. That's the reason why. It's the reality of where we are. But listen, Delaware State versus South Carolina State in Dover, 1 p.m. ESPN Plus is going to be amazing. It's for all the marbles, MEAC Championship, and also an appearance in the Celebration Bowl. It's going to be crazy. So our games of the week, so we got that out the way. So let's get to our quick picks. So Arielle, listen, I was very shocked when I crunched the numbers, and I realized that for the first time, I went undefeated. I went 12-0. That's crazy. You went 10-2, which is great. That is amazing as well. It is.
Don't try to make me feel better. Don't try to make me feel better. I hate it here.
But okay, so here's what we got right. So we both picked South Carolina State. We both picked FAMU. We both picked Jackson State. We both picked Alcorn State. Surprisingly, they eked out that win. We both picked Prairie View. We both picked Texas Southern. We both picked Alabama State. We both picked Morgan State, which is shocking because you pick against Morgan State often. We both picked Morgan State. We both picked Delaware State. So the shocks come here. So you picked Tennessee State. Tennessee State, they let you down. That was on them. They let you down, okay? Now, you are a very honorable woman, as Black women are. Black women hold this democracy together. They hold this world together, okay? And you said you are a woman of your word, and you were going to pick your alma mater, North Carolina A&T, over Monmouth. And Monmouth beat them down. But you said you're going to stay resolute, and you were going to pick them. And you did. Power to you. What do you have any thoughts on the record?
I just, to all the people that listen to me and have faith in me, listen, just keep having faith, because you know that I'm loyal to my word. I am an honorable woman. This year I'm not doing this time. I'm not doing that. I'm sticking to my guns.
Okay. That's great, because you already made your picks. You picked, because for some reason Gemini doesn't get the picks right sometimes, and I got to fight with him. You picked Jackson State and you picked Delaware State in the other games of the week, and I will make sure that Gemini knows that this is, because our games of the week are like in the picks too. For some, I don't know why I don't get it. But okay, so this is real clear because Thanksgiving is next week, so we're going to be off for next week. And the Bayou Classic, I love the Bayou Classic, but that don't matter for us to pick it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I love the Bayou Classic, but it's like, come on. Okay, let's be for real. All right, and then I think FAMU plays Mississippi Valley because they had to reschedule it. It was supposed to be in Atlanta, but they rescheduled it. That's the whole thing. And then Turkey Day Classic, Alabama State. If they do play Turkey Day Classic, Alabama State's gonna beat Tuskegee. I love Tuskegee. D2. Traditional powers in the SIAC. We still down in D2. We holding it down, but y'all not beating Alabama State this year. Anyway, so that's just our rundown of Thanksgiving, okay? So Alcorn does UAPB. So UAPB versus Alabama State. Can we agree Alabama State?
Of course.
Okay. Alabama A&M versus Texas Southern. Who you got?
I got Texas Southern on this.
I do as well. We can make this super quick. Mississippi Valley State versus Prairie View A&M. Who you got?
We can agree on Prairie View.
Okay. I want to be respectful to Mississippi Valley State.
Oh, that was nice. My bad.
The Florida Florida A&M versus Bethune-Cookman. Who you got?
Is it bad that I'm thinking about it?
No, I don't think it's bad. I think that shows respect to Raymond Woody and Bethune-Cookman.
I just love what they're doing. I don't think this is safe. I think it's just reasonable. I'm going to choose FAMU.
I think you're a reasonable woman. I get it. I'm picking Bethune-Cookman.
I
You want to
love
know why?
that.
You want to know why? I think Bethune-Cookman, I think that they're doing something really great on offense. And I think that they're figuring things out when it comes to their offensive attack. I think Cam Ransom's going to learn from the game he had against Jackson State. He's going to have a better game on this next week. And I also don't trust RJ Johnson. He had a really great game on last week. He's been up and down. I don't think he's fully figured it out. I think that Bethune-Cookman wants to make a statement in this rivalry. And I think FAMU is still trying to figure things out. And I firmly believe, Arielle, that this time next year, November 18th, 2026, God willing, we're here. I think that Quinn Gray is going to be the coach of FAMU. Quinn Gray is currently the coach at Albany State. I think Quinn Gray is going to be the coach of FAMU. He's going to get a playoff win maybe this weekend, or we'll see what happens with Albany State and then in the D2 playoffs. I think that ultimately FAMU loses the Florida Classic. They look at they won their last few games, but they say, James Colsey, we're not feeling you. We're gonna go a different direction. They're gonna scoop their legendary quarterback Quinn Gray is not that far, Albany to FAMU, and we're gonna see what happens. I think that Quinn Gray is the coach next year, and it starts on Saturday, and Bethune-Cookman wins.
You think Colsey is still gonna be on the coaches meeting and then be locked out? Cheap shot, but I had to. You feel me? Man,
that was really good. That was really good. FAMU's not going to do that. No, whatever Southern did, no. FAMU is absolutely not gonna do that. Shout out to their new.
He probably still makes the coach's call. He's just not there.
He's still getting paid a boatload of money. Him and Eric Dooley getting paid. Like Southern got stacks on deck. Telling you, they fire me, Southern. Golly, hire me and fire me. I need some money. These ACA something's going up in January now. Hire me and fire me. Golly. And by the way, I just won a national championship on College Football 26. So hire me and make me the coach at this point. Okay. When I won with guess who, Arielle? Willie Simmons at Florida State.
There you go.
Willie Simmons coach at Florida State. And I haven't played College Football 26 since July, and I just walked in and won. I didn't cheat. I played on Heisman.
Hey man, maybe you can beat this now number 4 Georgia team. Knocked Alabama right out.
You know what's so funny? In my dynasty, I started with the upset against top ranked Georgia.
Crazy.
And I have the video to prove it. Because we held them on 4th down.
Hire Randall Barnes, guys. He built.
And I was jumping up and down like it was a real game because I was playing on Heisman. So I'm like, bro, Georgia gonna boat race us right now. But the AI is so stupid in College Football 26. It did the stupidest play. It was like Alabama State versus Jackson State levels of stupid. Like I'm telling you.
Let's calm down before he's like, Randall didn't say none of these picks. Already has a 12-0 record right now.
And we'll accept that. We will love that. Okay. But okay, let's go to the MEAC. Howard versus Norfolk State. I'm saying this for a reason. I'm gonna say it again because I think you'll catch my drift. Howard versus Norfolk State. Who you got?
I didn't catch the drift. I'm still waiting on the side to be drifted away, but I'm going.
Okay. I'm gonna say it again. Okay. So I'm gonna give you an example. Okay. UAPB versus Alabama State. I said, can you agree that Alabama State's gonna be UAPB? So I said Howard versus Norfolk State. Who you got?
Okay, I'm on the boat now. I'm with you. We're swimming together. I'm choosing Howard.
I'm choosing Norfolk State.
Wow. We're not on the same boat. We're not on the same boat.
We're not. I don't think that Vic is going to end his season with only with no Division I win and only one win total. I think the team that he can beat is Howard. I don't trust Tyreek Starks. I don't trust that offense. I don't trust that defense. I think Howard is just sort of middle of the pack right now. I think Vincent Berry has actually been pretty effective as their backup. And you still got J.J. Evans, you still got Drayshawn Kendrick, and you still got Kevon King that's on that team. I think they knock off Howard. It's not going to be a blowout, but I think they knock off Howard and they get Vic's first win in Division 1.
Vic would love to not go 1-10. That doesn't mean he wouldn't. We all have dreams. They all don't come true though. I think in this case he's going to have to learn his lesson by not choosing his quarterback early, and I'm part of that rant of trying to get Carter out there. But he's gonna. This is gonna be a losing season. You gotta take that L and come back next week. That's all you gotta do.
All right, so we're gonna disagree on that one. That's my risk pick. Michael Vick, don't let me down. Okay. Now, North Carolina Central versus Morgan State. You know what I'm gonna do? Who you got? I'm not gonna do it. Who you got?
I got Central.
I got North Carolina Central too, but Morgan State is really interesting in this game. I think it's going to be more of a battle than we think, because they always play Central really well. Even when Davius Richard was there, Morgan State always plays Central well. That defense is crazy. So I don't trust their offense though. I don't trust Morgan State's offense. So that's why I think North Carolina Central will win.
I just don't trust Morgan State at all.
You never do.
Yeah.
But when Ray Lewis goes there, you gonna trust him?
Definitely not gonna trust him if Ray Lewis go there. I was finna make a joke, but
we're
gonna be.
I know where you were going.
Yeah, we're gonna be nice. We're going to be nice. We're going to be nice, man. We're going to be nice.
Okay, Charleston Southern versus Tennessee State. Who you got?
Let me go on my trusty dusty phone. Give me a second. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
Everybody hold on to their horses, and horses hold their breath.
And I'll say this for as you're searching it. Charleston Southern, their head coach is I forgot his name. I forgot his name. Gabe Gardenia. I forgot his name. I know him very well because we kept losing to Gabe, and then Sean Gibbs comes to Fort Valley and he beats Gabe Gardenia. Then Gabe Gardenia leaves and goes D1. But Gabe Gardenia, he got an SIAC championship on the way out. The same way Quinn Gray's gonna get it. He got an SIAC championship on the way out because Quinn Gray is gonna be in Florida next year. You cannot tell me otherwise. I'm telling you, fam, you know what's up. I'm telling you. So Charleston Southern is led by Gabe Gardenia, and you know they were struggling, but Gabe Gardenia is a great coach. He knows how to win. So let's see. Arielle doing research. It was either you doing research or the camera froze. So I was one of the two.
His research. That was research.
Because I thought that camera froze. It was. I'll keep it as in. I thought that camera froze, but yeah.
We are going to go with Charleston Southern.
That's a very great pick. I'm going with Charleston Southern as well. Sorry, Tennessee State. This is Eddie George ain't there no more. But Reggie Barlow will be great. I think he will be great.
Yeah.
All right. Can we agree Rhode Island's going to be Hampton?
Of course.
Okay, so we pick Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I want to just say this. I don't know if you peeped it, but if you notice, every week the last game is North Carolina A&T.
Yeah.
Unless they play a team in the MEAC. I do that on purpose. I do that on purpose. So that could be the final game. I don't know if you realize that.
I be hyped during the show, and then I see A&T, and I'm just like, I mean, Aggie pride, but
okay, yeah. I mean, but
none of my teams are doing it for me this year, man.
Are you picking A&T over Elon?
Nah, I'm good. I'm done losing now. I'm done. Okay. I mean, I'm not. We'll see. We'll see. What was the game that we'll see in this Delaware State game, and we'll also see in this Howard game. Howard is my risky pick, but I'm choosing Elon.
Okay, I'm choosing Elon. I'm choosing Elon as well. So just so Gemini knows, because I'll be on the fight Gemini. Okay. So in our games of the week, which is also what we pick. Okay, so we both pick Jackson State because we love
Yeah,
Jackson State.
we do.
And also, yeah, we'll make sure they know that. Also, but we disagree on South Carolina State, Delaware State. I pick South Carolina State. Arielle picks Delaware State. So for the Florida Classic, we disagree. I pick Bethune-Cookman. You pick Florida A&M, which that's a smart pick. But I think Bethune-Cookman's going to do the upset. We both pick Alabama State. We both pick Texas Southern. We both pick Prairie View for Norfolk State and Howard. I pick Norfolk State. You pick Howard. We both pick North Carolina Central. And for the other games, we pick Charleston Southern over Tennessee State. We pick Rhode Island over Hampton. We pick Elon over North Carolina A&T. Just so our listeners and viewers can understand, and also so Jim and I can understand, because it is so convenient not having to tally up all this stuff. It's so convenient.
It is.
Yeah. We embrace AI in certain elements. Okay. Just certain things. There's other stuff we don't embrace AI for, but when it comes to language AI, it's made life a little bit easier.
It's great
when it comes to doing these picks. All right. So that is it for the show on today. Arielle, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at ariel.onrecord, or you can put me in the hot seat, all you Jackson State fans, because I can just feel it. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at @screwweird__. Or you can follow me on my website at ariel.kilgore.my.canva.com.